Dandy escapes from marriage. Chapter 50. The next day, just as the sky was getting light, the two of them had breakfast together. Their feelings of parting seemed deliberately suppressed and they chatted as usual about trivial matters at home. After taking a few bites of eggs, Lu Shu suddenly got up, took the remaining basket of eggs from the house and said, "Take these back for your parents to taste. After all, these are eggs laid by the chickens we raised ourselves." Shen Cao couldn't help but smile. "Just take a few, you still need to eat. Chickens will lay more eggs, take all of these." Lu Shu insisted firmly. So Shen Cao, carrying his own bundle and the basket of eggs, got onto the carriage, but they didn't leave for quite some time. All right, let's go, I have things to do, too." Lu Shu waved his hand to urge him on, then turned and entered the courtyard. Reluctantly, Shen Cao withdrew his gaze and drove the carriage away. Listening to the sound of the wheels rolling, Lu Shu peeked out from behind the courtyard door, then his feet uncontrollably chased after, watching the carriage getting farther and farther away until he couldn't see it anymore. He didn't know how far he had run until he finally felt exhausted, stopping with hands on his knees, tears falling into the mud. At this moment, footsteps came from afar. He lifted his head and saw Shen Cao running towards him. He immediately rushed over, and the two tightly embraced each other. "I'll really be back soon, wait for me here, don't chase after me." Shen Cao's voice was hoarse. "Yet." Lu Shu blinked hard and nodded, "Okay, I won't chase after you again, you go now. When you come back, we'll get married." Agreed. This time, neither of them looked back. This wasn't their first separation. After the incident when Shen Cao went to Huai Prefecture to borrow troops, Lu Shu had already gotten used to living alone. In the morning, he got up to feed the chickens, had breakfast, cleaned the house, then took the newly developed face powder to town. Accompanying him were the two new sons of the bamboo weaver. On the way, he taught them how to use the bow and arrow. When they arrived in town, he sent them to school, then went to the rouge shop. When the customer with the birthmark came, Lu Shu let her try the new face powder. The woman looked at the much thicker substance than the powder on the market and was a little unsure, "Can this be used?" "You'll know once you try." The woman closed her eyes, expecting another long wait, but surprisingly, it was done very soon. She opened her eyes in surprise, finding that today she wasn't being painted with roses. She turned her face to the mirror and was amazed to find that the birthmark wasn't very noticeable. She had to get real close to the image just to see a faint trace of it. How did you do this?" The woman widened her eyes, "This is amazing. This is a face powder specially prepared by my master for you. With this, you don't have to come here every day for makeup. You can easily cover the birthmark at home." Zhang Moshan smiled. Overjoyed, the woman held the jar of face powder tightly and thanked them profusely. She generously bought the jar, and when it came time to pay, she suddenly said, "I've never seen this thing on the market before. If you sell this, you'll definitely expand your business. My family runs a courier service, and if you need it, we can help with transportation of goods." "That sounds great." Lu Shu immediately invited her to discuss the business cooperation inside. After Zhang Moyang learned about this, the three of them held a small meeting and proposed to expand the shop. "Let's just directly open a shop in Huai Prefecture. Mrs. Lu left us a sum of money, right?" Lu Shu said, "Miss Li's family's courier service happens to be in Huai Prefecture, which would make it convenient for future deliveries." "Okay, let's do that. I'll personally go to Huai Prefecture to find a shop." Zhang Moyang was more familiar with this area than the other two, so he was mainly responsible for these matters, which Lu Shu trusted him with. After some thought, Lu Shu added, "The prefect of Huai Prefecture is on good terms with Akao. If you encounter any trouble there, see if you can get his help." "No problem, didn't the prefect invite us to dinner before? He should remember me." A few days later, Zhang Moyang brought back good news. They had rented a shop in the central street of Huai Prefecture, not far from Miss Li's family's courier service. Ma Shan will oversee things here. Zhang Moyang and I will go to Huai Prefecture to set up the new shop, Lu Shu arranged. With no objections from the siblings, Lu Shu went with Zhang Moyang to Huai Prefecture to recruit workers and buy materials. One day, while Lu Shu was hanging up a sign outside, he ran into the magistrate's sedan chair. Oh, what a coincidence! Shen Huai lifted the curtain, revealing his face and greeted him. He glanced at the plaque and wasn't quite satisfied. Who wrote these characters? They're not even half as good as my younger brothers. Lu Shu frowned slightly, thinking to himself, what does your younger brother's handwriting have to do with anything? Why are you nitpicking here? But this was the Huai Prefecture, so he suppressed the urge to roll his eyes and smiled politely. Magistrate Shen is joking. Your younger brother is indeed talented, far beyond the calligraphy of these small merchants. Shen Huai nodded in satisfaction, smiling. I'll pass on your words to my younger brother. Lu Shu forced a smile, extending his hand politely to usher him away. Oh, it's quite crowded here. Magistrate Shen, you should leave soon to avoid any inconvenience. All right then. I'll come find you for dinner sometime. I'm busy. How about tomorrow? Are you deaf? Lu Shu was almost driven mad by him and threw a series of punches into the air as the sedan chair departed. What kind of person is he, talking about his younger brother, younger? Wait a minute. He suddenly remembered something very important. His mother had been talking incessantly about the young master of the Shen family. Could it be that he's the younger brother Shen Huai mentioned just now? Although there were several officials surnamed Shen in the capital, but which Shen family only had 2 sons in their family? Could it really be Shen Huai's family? He shuddered at the thought of Shen Huai describing his brother as antiquated and rigid. The next day, when Shen Huai came to invite him and Zhang Moyang to dinner, Lu Shu went alone, leaving Zhang Moyang to handle important matters in the shop. Do you drink? After the meal was served, Shen Huai asked. I do. Then let's have tea. As they ate, Lu Shu discreetly observed him and casually inquired, You're alone in Huai Prefecture. Have you ever thought about bringing your family over? After the new year, I'll bring them over. What about your younger brother? He doesn't need to come. Why not? Has he gotten married? No. Last time you mentioned he's about my age. How come he's not married yet? Does he even have an engagement? Shen Huai's expression changed slightly. Lu Shu was almost certain that the young master Shen mentioned by Shen Huai was indeed his brother. Shen Huai wasn't sure how much Shen Kao had revealed, but considering the significance of the engagement, he felt it necessary to inform Lu Shu. He quickly added some kind words for his brother, but I don't think they're suitable for each other. Why? Lu Shu asked casually. I heard that family is of merchant background. Do you think he and a merchant's son would have something in common? That's indeed a concern. Lu Shu's face turned cold. Why do you assume a merchant's son would look down on your brother? Shen Huai paused, realizing Lu Shu himself was now a small businessman. He smiled apologetically. I misspoke. What I meant was they haven't met and don't have something in common. It's not about looking down on merchants. Maybe my brother will like someone like you when he meets you. There's no need for that. I won't like your brother. Shen Huai raised an eyebrow, looking at him with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. When Aka returns, we'll get married. Haha, have some tea, have some tea. What are you laughing at? Do you not believe me? I believe you. Come on, have some tea. Lu Shu was so angry that his teeth itched. His impression of Shen Huai and that unknown young master Shen got even worse. Children from the same parents must be equally bad. After the preparations for the shop in Huai province were almost done, Zhang Moshan was also invited over. For the opening, they used the same method as before, and within 3 days, the whole city knew about the newly opened rouge shop. Not only was their cosmetics beautiful and the prices attractive, but there was also a type of face powder not available on the market that could easily cover facial spots and blemishes. It quickly became a hot commodity. The new store had a grand opening, and Lu Shu was extremely busy when he suddenly received a letter from home. "This was sent to our shop in town and I brought it for you." Zhang Moshan took out a letter addressed to Xiao Wu. Lu Yuezhu mentioned the engagement in the letter, saying that Lao Lu Jiu had softened a bit and asked him to bring Cao Shen to Jinling to personally express his determination. However, since Cao Shen had returned to the capital, he could only go back alone. It was also a good time to resolve his own engagement so that he could marry Cao Shen without any worries. He decided to leave immediately, claiming there was an urgent matter at home. Zhang Moyang subconsciously thought of his village home and blurted out, "What's wrong? Did your family's hen have trouble laying eggs, or did your dog mate with others outside? Mind your business, it's my parents' home." "Oh, so you still have parents?" Zhang Moyang had always thought he was an orphan. "Mind your business." Lu Shu took only a small amount of money with him, hired a carriage and rushed to Jinling day and night. After several days, he finally arrived in Jinling city before nightfall. Passing through the city gate, he was greeted by a bustling scene and prosperity. Shops lined both sides of the road, lanterns hung high, and pedestrians chatted amiably. Alongside the road flowed a river, with pleasure boats leisurely drifting downstream. Lu Shu drew back the curtain and looked at this familiar scene, unexpectedly feeling a rare sense of homesickness. He had visited every shop on this street, half of which belonged to the Lu family. The young master Lu was known to almost everyone within the city. But now that he had returned to Jinling, his state of mind had unexpectedly changed. He was neither in a hurry to find his brothers for a drink nor eager to listen to music or watch performances. He just wanted to hurry home, settle matters, and then return to that remote and simple mountain village. The carriage stopped in front of a magnificent mansion. Lu Shu got off the carriage and rushed in joyfully, "Dad! Mom! I'm back! Young master, the young master is back!" The gatekeeper hurriedly reported inside. Soon, the whole family came out, Lao Lu Jiu and his 4 wives, including his brothers and sisters. Except for Lu Yuezhu, everyone else looked surprised. "Xiao Wu, where have you been begging for food?" the eldest brother asked. "It's been so long without any news, I thought you didn't want to come back and were going to sever ties with the Lu family," the second brother said. "Did you dig that dog hole in the backyard yourself?" the third brother asked. "Are you back to get married?" the fourth brother asked. "Little brother, if you hadn't come back, you would have missed my wedding banquet," the eldest sister said, with the younger sister nodding in agreement. Lu Shu looked around, his mouth slowly curling up. Even the 4 brothers seemed much more pleasing to him. He turned to Lao Lu Jiu, who was brewing with emotions, rushed forward and hugged him, shouting affectionately, "Dad, Mom, everyone, I missed you so much. Where did you go? Why did you just come back now?" Lao Lu Jiu picked up a chicken feather duster and wanted to beat him but was stopped by the 2 sisters. The brothers, on the other hand, teased him, "Beat him, beat him. It's okay, let father beat him." Lu Shu raised his buttocks, "Father, come on. Do you really think I won't dare to hit you?" Lao Lu Jiu flicked the feather duster and smacked him on the buttocks. Lu Shu closed his eyes and passed out. In the midst of confusion, Lu Shu was taken back to his room. Lu Yuezhu scolded Lao Lu Jiu for being too harsh, forbade him from coming to the room and firmly closed the door. Passing by the table, she casually picked up a handful of melon seeds and started cracking them, saying, "All right, get up quickly." Lu Shu immediately rolled off the bed and joined her in cracking melon seeds, asking, "Mom, how softened is father now?" "It depends on your behavior," Lu Yuezhu asked. "What about that boy? Why didn't he come with you?" Lu Shu thought since Ah Kao went back to resolve the engagement, it would be better to avoid causing a bad impression on his mother and said, he has urgent matters at home and can't come. You tell me, how should I behave? Your father fears we will lose credibility with the Shen family and that they won't let us off easily. It might interfere with our business. So, if you insist on breaking off the engagement, we'll have to personally go to the capital, prepare generous gifts, sincerely apologize, and see if we can peacefully cancel this engagement. The precondition is that you have to behave well. Even if the Shen family scolds us, we must accept it. Can you do that? Lu Shu thought for a moment, enduring the humiliation and said, no problem. When are we going to the capital? You just came back today. Spend today with the family then rest for another day. We'll leave the day after tomorrow. Okay. During dinner, Lu Shu served tea and flattered his father again, finally repairing their broken father and son relationship of nearly half a year. After dinner, his brothers teased him idly, sometimes commenting on his ragged clothes, sometimes laughing at the calluses on his palms. Lu Shu got annoyed listening to them and suddenly stood up. The four immediately looked at him warily, ready for a fight. Who knew that this time Lu Shu didn't start a fight but simply ignored them and went straight back to his room. The four looked at each other, unable to help but wonder, was this still their annoying little brother who fights whenever he was teased? Lao Lu Tiu also watched him leave in shock, quietly asking Lu Yueju, what's wrong with him? Is he still our son? He's grown up and thinks about other things now. What things? Thinking about men. Back in his room, Lu Shu sat by the window, gazing at the moon in a trance, wondering if the moon in the capital was just as round. If he went to the capital, maybe he could visit Ah Kao's home. But he didn't even ask where Ah Kao lived. The next morning, when the Lu family sat down for breakfast and saw Lu Shu, who should have been sleeping digging in the yard, they once again widened their eyes in shock. What are you doing? Lao Lu Tiu asked. The ground here is quite wide. I want to plant some onions to save trouble for the kitchen, Lu Shu said. Others laughed and Lao Lu Tiu said, you want to use my good courtyard to plant onions? Lu Shu blinked, put away the hoe and went back to his room without turning back, thinking to himself that there was nothing great about it. When he returned to the village, he wanted to plant as many as he could. Why does he seem still angry? Lao Lu Tiu asked in confusion. Lu Yueju laughed and shouted, Xiao Wu, aren't you eating breakfast? I've eaten. The dishes aren't on the table yet. What did you eat? The steamed buns in the kitchen. That's what servants eat, isn't it? Lao Lu Tiu asked. In the morning, Lu Shu was discussing rouge business with Lu Yueju when a servant brought in a letter from the capital. From the capital? Who's it from? Lu Shu asked curiously. Lu Yueju opened and read the letter, her brows furrowing gradually. After reading it with a serious expression, she sighed, it's from the Shen family. What do they say? Lu Shu picked up the letter and started reading. The whole family is on their way to Jinling to discuss the marriage contract with us. Lu Shu finished reading indifferently and shrugged, let them come. We were going to find them anyway. It would save us a trip. What if the Shen family is coming to discuss the marriage? Lu Yueju asked. Then I'll make sure that the Shen family finds me unsuitable. I don't believe a scholarly family like theirs would want a dandy for a son-in-law. Lu Shu grinned mischievously. Lu Yueju suddenly felt that her son was back to his old self, full of mischief. She chuckled and asked, what are you planning to do? Go, summon all the sisters from the Nishang pavilion. Young master is back. Naturally, I must have some fun with them. Hehe, you've been having fun for 5 or 6 years and you're still a virgin. After the servant left, Lu Shu pondered for a moment, then waved his hand dramatically, and bring all the handsome lads here. We have distinguished guests coming, we'll give them a full feast. Lu Yueju. This was going to be trouble. End chapter. Dandy escapes from marriage. Chapter 51. The carriage travelled south all the way, rushing for 7 or 8 days consecutively, and finally arrived in Jinling City before nightfall. Outside was bustling and lively, with voices clamoring. The bright yellow light from the streets reflected into the carriage, but the atmosphere inside was rather somber. "Ah cow, are you really going to break off the engagement with the Liu family for the sake of an unknown boy?" Disregarding gossip and everything it entails, Madame Shen sat on the inner side, staring straight at Shen Cao. "Mother, he is not just an unknown boy. His name is Xiao Wu, a very kind and hard-working person. We share the same feelings and I will not betray him in this lifetime," Shen Cao replied firmly. Then, he glanced at Shen Yanqing and continued, "As for gossip, I care even less. This engagement was arranged without my knowledge. I am grown now and have my own life. How can I abandon my own choices because of a few words from others?" Hearing this, Shen Yanqing snorted coldly. Since ancient times, marriages have been arranged by parents' orders and matchmakers' words. Why does it become our fault in your mouth? Father has been in bureaucracy for many years and is used to such situations, but I am not. All I know is that my name is Shen Cao. I am just an ordinary person who wants to spend my life with someone I love, regardless of status and wealth. All right, it's my fault." Madame Shen saw that Shen Yanqing was about to get angry, so she intervened. "Back then, when I went to worship the Bodhisattva, the carriage had an accident on the way. I almost lost my life, but fortunately, Yuezhu helped me and even assisted in my giving birth despite being heavily pregnant herself, saving both our lives. She suffered complications as a result." Shen Cao finally understood the cause and effect. Initially, he only heard his tipsy mother suddenly mention a marriage arrangement during dinner, but by the time he asked for details, she had already fallen asleep and the matter was not brought up again afterward. "After this incident, I felt a bond with Yuezhu and was worried that our son might have problems being born prematurely. I consulted a master who said her son had a fate of early death and needed someone born on the same day to counteract the bad luck. That's why I voluntarily promised this marriage arrangement. If her son could survive to 17, our families would become relatives. If not, it wouldn't matter and you could marry someone else as the person in question is a man." "Ah!" Shen Yanqing sighed heavily, taking his wife's hand back from Shen Cao's hand and holding it in his own, soothingly patting her hand. He said to Shen Cao, "As you grew up, sometimes your mother worried if she made a hasty decision. When you were 4, they brought the child to the capital to confirm this marriage arrangement. You played with that child for most of the day. Afterwards, your mother secretly asked if you wanted to play with him every day even though he beat you up and you said you wanted to see him every day. After the family left, you talked about wanting to play with that child when you get well and so, we didn't refuse the family." Shen Cao vaguely remembered, but the impression of that child was already very vague, just faintly remembering that there was such a peer who come to the house, but since it was so long ago, he had already forgotten about it. "I didn't go out much when I was young, nor did I have many friends. It was rare for me to play with someone my age, so naturally, I was happy at that time." Shen Cao slowly said, "Now that things have come to this point, I can only go to them to apologize. There are many substantial gifts in the carriage." Shen Cao looks around him and takes out a token from his sleeves. "This is given by Lord Zhao. If he offered to give it to that person, maybe it could be of use to them." The voice of the coachman sounded outside, "May I trouble you to let me know how to get to the residence of the Liu family?" "The Liu family, go straight. The biggest mansion is their residence," the pedestrians replied. Shen Cao has just lifted the corner of the curtain and looked curiously at the city. Xiao Wu was also from Jinling, but he did not know exactly where he lives. Thinking of Xiao Wu, he said that he was working in a brothel, and so when he saw that they were actually in front of a brothel, he started laughing. "Laughing at a brothel? What's so amusing?" Shen Yanqing snorted again. Shen Cao didn't explain. Just as he was about to withdraw his gaze, his attention was drawn to a man on a small bridge ahead. Despite the distance and dim lighting, he could vaguely make out the figure. The man was leisurely riding a horse across the bridge, with willow branches brushing against his hair. The courtesans from the brothel called out to him flirtatiously, and a silk handkerchief fell beside him. He reached out to catch it, then gracefully dismounted at the brothel's entrance and disappeared inside. The carriage happened to pass by the brothel's entrance. Shen Cao stared in the direction where the man had vanished, feeling that he was oddly familiar. "We're almost there." "Ah Cao, do you really have to go to the Lu family dressed like this?" Madame Shen hesitated, looking at him. Surprisingly, his face was deliberately smudged with black paint, and he even wore a fake beard and a large mole on his forehead. His own mother found his face disgusting. Shen Cao nodded. "Yes, this way it'll be easier to break off the engagement, as Xiao Wu had instructed." "But I'm afraid of losing face," Madame Shen said. "Endure it for a while, it will soon be over," Shen Cao reassured her. Madame Shen massaged her temples and leaned against her husband's shoulder, closing her eyes to rest. The carriage stopped and the family of three got off one after another. The servants had already gone to announce their arrival, and soon Lao Lu Tuo came out with his family to greet them. "Master Shen, Madam Shen, it's been many years. I hope you're well," Lao Lu greeted warmly. "Master Lu still maintains his distinguished demeanor," Shen Yanqing smiled. Madam Shen looked around and asked curiously, "Where is Yuezhu?" "Ah, Yuezhu fell ill a couple of days ago. She was afraid inconveniencing anyone, so she's resting in her room," Lao Lu replied. "Why say such things? Yuezhu and I have a deep bond. I want to see her myself," Madam Shen insisted. "Ah Chi, please escort Madam Shen," Lao Lu instructed a maidservant who then led Madam Shen towards the back courtyard. "You've endured a long journey. Master Shen and young master, please come in," Lao Lu invited warmly. Shen Cao followed his father into the Lu family's mansion. Inside was a spacious courtyard, adorned with exotic flowers and plants. Bronze cauldrons at each corner collected rainwater, reflecting the family's wealth. No wonder Zhang Moyang occasionally mentioned the Lu family's extravagance. However, the environment was secondary to Shen Cao. He discreetly surveyed the Lu family members but couldn't identify who exactly his betrothed was. At that moment, a servant accidentally broke a porcelain bowl. A young man immediately scolded the servant severely, who fell to the ground in tears, begging for forgiveness. Shen Cao frowned slightly, then noticed two men nearby whispering about him, barely concealing their mocking smiles. He faintly heard remarks like "so ugly," and "who would want to marry him?" He sighed inwardly and looked away, only to see another man with several concubines beside him, whispering curses at his own child. "There are guests here. Go back to your room quickly." Shen Cao's brow furrowed like the character for River. He overheard his father casually asking about where Lu Shu was. It seemed Lu Shu was his betrothed. He breathed a sigh of relief internally that Lu Shu wasn't present. Although he came to break off the engagement, he still didn't want the other party to be too unbearable. To his surprise, Lao Lu sighed, unable to say a word for a long time. It was the man who scolded the servant who gloated, "Lu Shu? He's been spending his nights at the brothel these days. You won't find him during the day." Shen Cao's impression of this family plummeted further. Shen Yanqing's expression darkened, but he quickly rejoiced silently that it was an annulment visit. If his son really married into this family, the Shen family's reputation would be completely ruined. Madame Shen sighed with a complex expression. Lao Lu Tuo awkwardly covered his face. Yuezhu could pretend to be sick to avoid facing the guests, but he couldn't. He had to force a smile. "My son is mischievous, please forgive him for this, Master Shen." Shen Yanqing forced a smile as well. Lao Liu's gaze then fell on Shen Cao's face, thinking how handsome the child had been when he was young, but how ugly he had as a grown-up. But he heard that his son had already found a handsome and talented man outside. He secretly rejoiced that it was better to cancel this marriage. During dinner, Yuezhi did not come out to join them. Madame Shen stayed with her in the room, dining together with her. Outside, Master Lu only let a few of his sons accompany the guests to dinner. As a result, the father and son of the Shen family were very worried. It was like sitting on pins and needles. It was really difficult for these mismatched group of people to talk together. After dinner, Shen Yanqing whispered to Shen Cao, "It seems that it's good to avoid this marriage. Dealing with a group of idle young masters is very troublesome. I think the Lu family is not very satisfied with your current appearance. Your mother went to see Mrs. Lu to test the wind. If it goes smoothly, it may be possible to negotiate directly." "Okay." Shen Cao nodded in agreement. He thought that if he could return to the capital tomorrow, he might as well take the time to stroll through the city and buy something for Xiao Wu. While others were drinking and chatting with their father, he found an excuse to leave the Lu family residence alone and went out for a walk. Snacks on the street buy. Preserves in the cabinet buy. Fine bow and arrows buy. Jade slingshot buy. Rouge and powder buy everything. In less than half an hour, he carried large and small boxes and was ready to return to the Lu mansion first. As he walked on a small bridge, he looked around to find the way back to the Lu family when he heard a burst of laughter. Following the sound, he looked up and saw a brothel across the street. At this moment, a woman's melodious singing drifted out of the window, her voice as clear as a lark's, earning applause and admiration from listeners. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly heard the sound of a jade flute. With nothing else to do, Shen Cao stood on the bridge, quietly listening to the enchanting flute accompanied by the beautiful voice. Even after the music gradually ceased, he still felt somewhat unsatisfied, thinking that the southern Jiangnan region indeed possessed a softer charm compared to the capital, where even the brothels housed such refined and leisurely individuals. He waited for a moment, hoping to hear the flute again. Fortunately, the flute resumed its melody, and this time it was much livelier, accompanied by complaints from the girls inside who seemed to be unable to sing this tune. Listening intently, Shen Cao unexpectedly hummed along. Suddenly, he remembered hearing this tune at some point. It was on a mid-autumn festival night, when Xiao Wu and he sat in the courtyard, admiring the moon. After finishing the mooncakes, he plucked a leaf and said it was to play a tune for him. Shen Cao abruptly raised his head, his brow slightly furrowed with a hint of confusion. He strode swiftly into the brothel. Inside, the hall was packed with guests, clinking glasses and laughter filling the air. Standing in the hall, he glanced around and then looked up toward the upper floor. "Sir, which lady are you looking for?" the madam approached eagerly. "Who was playing the flute just now?" Shen Cao asked. "The flute? That would be young Master Lu." "Young Master Lu?" "Yes, it's Lu Shu, the fifth son of the Lu family. Don't you know?" the madam pointed to a room on the top floor. "He loves listening to our girls sing." "Sir, where are you going?" "Ah, Nei Chang's room already has a customer. You can't barge in. Someone, quickly grab him." Shen Cao tossed the items in his hands to the pursuers and dashed to the room's door despite his hesitation whether he was right or wrong. Stopping at the doorway, he listened again. Inside, he heard the laughter of girls, one of them giggling, "My dear young master, how long are you going to stay here? We can't entertain any guests." "Then should I leave?" came a lazy voice. "Oh, don't go. We're just teasing you," another girl said, "You're really..." Before she could finish, the door suddenly swung open. The girls turned around in surprise, exclaiming, "Who are you?" Shen Cao looked inside at the only man, sitting by the window, wiping the jade flute, with long slender fingers and a jade hairpin on his head, revealing a delicate and fair neck. His clothing was vibrant green, transparent and smooth, finely crafted with exquisite detail, obviously of considerable value. Even upon hearing someone intruding, he didn't look this way, apparently used to such occurrences and merely instructing quietly, "Deal with him." "Guards," Nei Chong immediately shouted, "quickly throw this person out. Don't disturb young Master Liu." "I apologize for disturbing young Master Liu's enjoyment," a clear voice spoke. Lu Shu suddenly stopped wiping the flute and looked up sharply at the door. His indifferent face suddenly showed a look of surprise, even disbelief, as he stood up abruptly. "Ah cow!" Nei Chong and the others witnessed the carefree young Master Liu's desperate rush towards an ugly duckling. He even hugged the ugly duckling tightly and kissed him heavily. "Everyone, ... Ah cow, what are you doing here?" Lu Shu was surprised and delighted, fearing that the servants would push him away. He just opened his arms to hug him, but his forehead was blocked by his hand. Lu Shu blinked. "Are you Xiao Wu now, or young Master Liu?" Shen Cao scrutinized his eyes. "Ah! It's a disaster." He was too happy in that moment that he forgot about this. "You, please listen to me explain." Lu Shu turned his head to face the stunned crowd and immediately dismissed them. "Go, all of you. Get out. Don't let anyone disturb us." After locking the door, he turned back to Shen Cao. His steps were cautious as he approached, fidgeting nervously and swallowing hard. Since he had been discovered, there was no point in pretending anymore, especially about this brothel incident. So, he cautiously asked, "Can I be both?" Shen Cao glanced around the room filled with a faint fragrance, his expression as calm as water. "If you're the young Master Liu who spends nights in the brothel, that's another matter." No, listen, I can explain." Lu Shu hurriedly said, "I was just acting. I never actually stayed the night there. I secretly slipped back to the inn to sleep every night. If you don't believe me, ask the girls." "Why were you acting?" Lu Shu pursed his lips. In this situation, there was no longer any need to hide, especially since Ah Cao had known about his engagement. Honesty was the best policy. "Sit down and I'll tell you slowly." Lu Shu tugged at his sleeve, realizing that it didn't move, as if Ah Cao didn't want to go with him. "Ah Cao," he looked at Shen Cao pitifully. Shen Cao lowered his eyes, gazing at the clever and pitiful expression on his face, thinking how cunning this little fox was. Every time he got angry, he would show this kind of expression and call him "Ah Cao" in such a soft tone that he could be coaxed back. "Ah Cao, Ah Cao. See." Shen Cao was dragged down to sit on the couch and the other naturally sat on his lap, hugging his shoulders and starting to smile. The little fox was back. "I have an engagement. You know about this?" Lu Shu said, "But I didn't tell you that my father is the richest man in Jiangnan. The family I'm engaged to is a high official in the capital. I came back this time to break off the engagement. Coincidentally, they wrote to say that they were coming to Jinling, so I thought I'd put on a show to make them dislike me. That way, breaking off the engagement would be easier, don't you think?" Shen Cao silently looked at him and suddenly asked, "Do you know who you're engaged to?" "I only found out recently. It's the second son of the Shen family, the younger brother of Shen Huai. Isn't that a coincidence?" Lu Shu widened his eyes. "Yeah, quite a coincidence," Shen Cao said. "No wonder. I kept wondering why Shen Huai was so annoying." Lu Shu held his face and kissed him, reassuringly. "But don't worry, I definitely won't be interested in his brother. I guess his brother is all study and no play and definitely not as good as you, not in any way." Shen Cao blinked, looking at him silently, making Lu Shu's heart beat fast as he asked nervously, "Ah Cao, why aren't you saying anything? If you don't speak, I'll kiss you." Lu Shu kissed him as soon as he said it. After not seeing him for many days, the longing had already been injected into his blood. Without waiting for his answer, he kissed his lips hungrily. Their breath intertwined, and his fingers embedded in his hair as he deepened the kiss. The two kissed for a long time on the soft couch, before asking him with a blush, "By the way, Ah Cow, why did you suddenly come to Jinling?" "I came to break off my engagement." Shen Cao played with his hair and said slowly. "Break off what engagement?" Lu Shu was stunned, amazed, and shocked. "Why did you came to Jinling to break off the engagement?" Strangely, Shen Cao fell silent for a moment before he continued. "Well, I'm the second son of the Shen family that you mentioned, the boring bookworm who is all study and no play." With a thump, Lu Shu fell back, scared to turn back at him. End chapter. Dandy escapes from marriage. Chapter 52. Are you okay? Shen Cao reached out to support him but found that Lu Shu was frozen still in the posture of falling, staring at him in disbelief. "Get up quickly, is your butt hurt?" Shen Cao asked. "Ah." As Lu Shu slowly regained his senses, he stood up in a hurry and rubbed his buttocks with a pained expression. "It hurts so much." Looking at him like this, the familiar Xiao Wu was back again. Shen Cao was unable to help but want to laugh. "Are you really the second son of the Shen family?" Staring cautiously, Lu Shu asked. Shen Cao sat up straight and nodded slightly. "Yes, Shen Yanqing is my father, Shen Hui is my elder brother. And I am Shen Cao." Shen Cao? In his mind, he had just realized that he had switched his last name and his first name. Suddenly feeling a cold breath, Lu Shu reached out and grabbed Shen Cao's collar, still unable to believe it. "Why? How did you suddenly become a member of the Shen family?" Shen Cao touched his head and smiled slightly. "I could ask you the same thing. How did you suddenly become the young master of the Lu family who stays overnight in the brothel?" Staring at his frozen expression, Lu Shu slowly let go of Shen Cao's hand, straightened his wrinkled collar, and then folded his hands together respectfully. "I didn't mean to deceive you. I sneaked out secretly. At first, I didn't dare to speak up, afraid of being brought back by my parents to get married. After living with you, I felt very happy and never had a chance to tell you. After we got together, I wanted to tell you but I found out that you dislike dandies. I was afraid that telling you this would affect our relationship and make you dislike me, too." "Did I say I disliked dandies?" Shen Cao asked. "Yes, I tried several times to test you. You even dislike Zhang Moyang. Compared to him, other dandies are a lot worse," Lu Shu replied. Shen Cao thought for a moment, thinking of the other young masters of the Lu family, who indeed made him feel disgusted, and nodded. "Well, indeed, I still don't like dandies." Lu Shu's breathing stopped, he bit his lips and was visibly about to cry but fortunately Shen Cao immediately added a sentence, "But I like you." Lu Shu forcefully pressed his lips, still unable to control himself, the corners of his mouth twitched. He opened his arms and threw himself on Shen Cao, and the two rolled on the soft couch. "I like you, too." Lu Shu lifted his head and asked with a smile, "What about you? Why did you hide your identity?" Shen Cao slowly said, "You may not believe it but all I can say is our thoughts are exactly the same. There is just one difference, I thought you didn't like the sons of aristocratic families. I really don't like it." Lu Shu lowered his head and kissed him then said with a smile, "But you are different from them, you are different from everyone." The two looked at each other in silence, with big eyes staring at each other, silently digesting this huge news. "I didn't expect that after all these twists and turns, we would actually be engaged." Shen Cao sighed. "Yeah, I said bad things about Shen Hui's little brother right in front of you." Lu Shu was ashamed and embarrassed, wishing to take off his clothes and express his intentions on the spot. "You must not take seriously everything I said to your brother." "What did you say?" "I said that you were boring, not diligent, not articulate, and I even scolded your brother." "Oh, great news! Last time, I even found a double yolk egg. I've opened another shop, right there in city of Hui province, very close to your elder brother." I even had a meal with him on purpose to test the waters, and only then did I confirm that his younger brother is my fiancé. Never did I suspect it was actually you. Why would a fine young master from a prestigious family choose to be a farmer in some remote village? I never doubted it for a moment. Maybe because neither of us had any experience, so we were easily deceived, Shen Cao chuckled. Of course, the most important reason is that we completely trust each other. Yet, I'd rather believe that I'm incompetent at daily life than suspect you. As they reminisced, they couldn't help but laugh and cry at the poverty they endured during their best days, yet somehow finding flavor in life. At the same time, they couldn't help but feel fortunate. They had originally tried to avoid each other but ended up meeting, knowing each other, and falling in love in an unfamiliar place, only to realize later that they were really meant for each other. Oh my, thinking back now, I'm glad you're from the Shen family and I'm from the Lu family. Our fate was truly destined. With our engagement settled early, Lu Shu couldn't help but sigh. Shen Cao's expression faltered slightly. Wait a minute, I think we've overlooked something very important. I think I remember now, too. They slowly looked at each other. Lu Shu looked anxious. Aren't you here to cancel the engagement? Shen Cao nodded heavily. Your parents should have agreed to the cancellation, right? As soon as he finished speaking, they turned and ran towards the door. Lu Shu urgently opened it. Quick, move aside, move aside. It's an urgent matter. The young ladies waiting at the door immediately made way. Seeing young Master Lu rushing out, they were about to ask what had happened, but then they saw the gallant man following closely behind, momentarily failing to recognize this refined gentleman. Sir, where are you from? Na Chong asked. Lu Shu turned around, grabbed Shen Cao's hand and said to them, this is my man. Don't you dare think about it. We'll come back to play with you another day. The young ladies, ... This is your man, then who was that just now? The two of them ran down the stairs one after the other, attracting attention from all around, causing quite a stir. Once outside the gate, Lu Shu quickly mounted his horse and reached out to Shen Cao. Shen Cao glanced at him, shook his hand, and sat behind him, taking the reins from him. Lu Shu turned to look back at him in surprise. Do you know how? Don't underestimate scholars, Shen Cao chuckled lightly, his legs clamping the horse's belly, pulling on the reins, and the horse immediately galloped, carrying the two of them swiftly towards the direction of the Lu family mansion. Young master, you're finally back. The gatekeeper recognized this snowy white horse and hurried forward to greet them, only to find two people sitting on the horse's back and was stunned. Where are my father and mother? Lu Shu dismounted and handed the reins to him. They're in a meeting with the guests inside. Before the servant finished answering, he saw the two of them disappear in a flash, so he had to take the little young master's precious horse back to the stables first. Dad. Lu Shu took 3 or 2 steps into the main hall, did not see a person, and asked the servant who answered, in the study, and then took Shen Cao to the study. Shen Cao was finally really at the Lu family mansion. It was difficult to imagine, but in order to reach to the study, they had to run for a while without having the chance to appreciate the surrounding sceneries. Dad. Lu Shu ran out of breath just as he was about to reach the door of the study and had to crawl to grasp the door handle and shouted. The two men inside the hall turned around at the same time. Lu Shu looked at that unfamiliar middle-aged man with an elegant temperament. He noticed his resemblance to Shen Cao, so he immediately called out a polite greetings of father. Shen Yanking, ... Lao Master Lu, ... Lao Lu Tuo looked at Shen Yanking with confusion, then at his son. He walked over to block his view and admonished him, have you had too much to drink? Your old father is right here. I know. Lu Shu pushed his father aside and approached Shen Yanking with a smile, trying to be all friendly. Hello, Master Shen, I've heard so much about you. Haha, I've long heard of your distinguished and elegant demeanor. Today, seeing you in person, I'd say your reputation is well deserved. Haha, I am Lu Shu. Shen Yanqing was baffled by his dry pleasantries and looked at Lao Lu suspiciously. Is this the one called Lu Shu? Yes, Lao Lu nodded. Shen Yanqing pondered for a moment, scrutinizing him up and down. Did you just return from the brothel? Lu Shu's face slightly changed. He turned slowly, seeking help from Shen Cao. It's a misunderstanding, Shen Cao intervened. This needs a long explanation, so I'll keep it short. Father, we're not calling off this marriage. What? Shen Yanqing exclaimed. Yes, Dad, we're not calling it off. Lu Shu immediately looked at his own father. Hold on, are you young Master Shen? Lao Lu leaned closer, finally getting a clear look at Shen Cao, his eyes showing a hint of pleasant surprise, suddenly understanding why his son didn't want to call off the marriage. We can't decide on this marriage ourselves since it was decided by your mothers. They are discussing it in your mother's room. You should go talk to them, Master Lu said. Okay. Ah Cao, this way. The two fathers watched as Lu Shu naturally took Shen Cao's hand and left together, falling into silence and awkwardly looking at each other, silently cursing their own sons. Lustful little brats, all these wasted years of feeding them / studying the teachings of sages. It seems like your mother is sick. Will it disturb her if we go over like this? Shen Cao asked. It's fine, she's just pretending. She's just embarrassed to see the guests, Lu Shu said outside Lu Yuezhu's room, hearing the two ladies crying. Subconsciously looking at Shen Cao, he silently eavesdropped. I'm sorry, Yuezhu, I broke my promise, Madam Shen choked. It's okay, my child is so playful and unworthy. He won't match your son well. Lu Yuezhu also cried. How could that be? Your child is naturally like you, playful but not bad. It's my son who missed out on this blessing. He met the person he likes and now he's going to die. I feel so helpless. Lu Shu glanced at Shen Cao in surprise, and Shen Cao immediately shook his head, indicating that no one was dying. I'm also in the same predicament. My child chanced upon a poor boy and said that if we didn't accept them, he'll leave the family and they'll starve to death together. What can mothers like us do? Shen Cao looked at Lu Shu. Lu Shu shook his head and waved his hand, indicating that he would never starve to death. In that case, we can only break the engagement agreed between our families. I see. Can we still be good sisters? Of course, hoo hoo hoo. Woo 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 woo. Mother, it's okay, it's okay. Lu Shu burst in through the door. Don't call off the marriage, we're not calling it off. The two ladies were crying with their heads in their hands. When they looked up, they saw these two holding hands walking in and they were both stunned. Madame Shen slowly raised her eyes and fixed them on Lu Shu's overly handsome face, finding it hard to look away. She exclaimed in surprise, You are Cao Shen. Lu Yuezhu stared at Shen Cao and exclaimed, What are you doing here? Shen Cao was startled, looking at the lady in front of him who bore a striking resemblance to Lu Shu. Are you? This is Cao Shen? What's going on? Madame Shen looked at Lu Yuezhu in puzzlement, and how do you know Cao Shen? Lu Yuezhu was also in a daze, asking, Is he your son? Yes, he is Shen Cao. Lu Yuezhu looked at Shen Cao, whose demeanor was completely different from the afternoon, and suddenly had an epiphany. She struggled and said, Sister, it seems that this marriage of ours cannot be called off. Then shall we continue crying? Madame Shen asked. No more crying, no more crying, it's a good thing, Lu Yuezhu said. Why are you still standing there? Quickly wipe your mother's tears. Oh, okay. Lu Shu took out a handkerchief and wiped Madame Shen's tears. Lu Yuezhu, I was talking about me. At this moment, Shen Cao had already come up to her. Well, it's also okay to experience the thoughtfulness of a future son-in-law, Lu Yuezhu thought to herself and closed her eyes as if to face it boldly. What she didn't know was that he only meant to gently ask her, Madam, have you ever dropped a gold ingot on the road? Lu Yuezhu suddenly opened her eyes wide. And have you ever hired a group of girls and boys to come to the shop to test me? Shen Cao asked again. Lu Yuezhu, ... Lu Yuezhu furiously asked, Son, help me wipe my tears, too. End chapter.